Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to the big news. The topic for today's discussion Maharana Pratap Jayanti, Battle of Haldi Ghati and beyond. Before we understand what this topic is all about, a quick gentle reminder as part of Target Prelims 2022, we will have the second session of Garment Schemes which will be handled by Harshmit Singh sir tomorrow from 7:30 to 9:30 pm. Please do tune in and watch these beautiful lectures. Let's get started and try and understand what is this topic all about. When we speak about Pratap Singh I, who is he? He also called as Maharana Pratap. He was the king of Mewar from the Sisodia dynasty. One of the notable achievements of Pratap Singh, also called as Maharana Pratap, happens to be the rebellion against the Mughal regime, resistance against the expansionist policy of the Mughal regime under King Akbar. So basically, during the Mughal regime, which was under the control of Akbar, they were trying to expand along all horizons of India. But it was under Maharana Pratap they were able to prevent the expansion of the Mughal Empire. How? By using one of the techniques called as the guerrilla warfare, and it is this guerrilla warfare which was used by multiple other kingdoms in India. One such notable example it happens to be Mughals who were also fought by Shivaji, and this happens to be another example where Maharana Pratap ji had set a precedent. So the guerrilla warfare which was started, initiated, progressed by Maharana Pratap also became another example for Shivaji from Maharashtra. When we speak about Maharana Pratap, he belonged to the Sisodia clan of Rajputs of Mewar. He was born on 9th May 1540 to Uday Singh II as well as Jaywant Bai. His younger brothers were Shakti Singh, Vikrant Singh, Jagmal Singh. Maharana Pratap was married to Ajabde Punwar of Bijolia dynasty. Whenever you have a kingdom, what would happen? There would be fight and clashes for the dynasty because you would have number of brothers who would want to take up that particular throne. Similarly, in the present situation, upon the death of Uday Singh in 1572, there was a tussle between the brothers. They all wanted to take up the throne as well. Finally, this particular throne in the Sisodia dynasty was handed over to Maharana Pratap. So, because senior nobles in this particular kingdom were in favor of Maharana Pratap, ultimately the throne was decorated by Maharana Pratap. Now, what is that we have to understand? We have to understand some of the important things that happened during his rule. During the reign of Uday Singh II, there was a siege of Chittorgarh which had led to the loss of fertile eastern half of Mewar to the expansionist Mughal Empire. Yet, the western half of the Mewar, which consisted of the wood and hilly terrain near the Aravalli range, was firmly under the control of the Sisodia Rajputs. What exactly happened? The father of Maharana Pratap happened to be Uday Singh. So Uday Singh under this particular rule was not able to control certain parts of the Mewar region, and as a result one of the areas called the Chittorgarh went into the control of the Mughal Empire, and this particular part also had the fertile land as well. So one part of the Mewar region, this particular part was taken over by the Mughal Empire. They had taken over this particular region, but the western half of Mewar was still under the control of the Sisodia Rajputs. As we know that once they capture one of the region, they wouldn't want to settle with it. What they want to do is to expand their policy. They want to expand their area. In this particular backdrop, they also issue a warning to Maharana Pratap where they want to capture the entire Mewar region. Why do they want to capture the entire Mewar region? That is because Mughal Emperor Akbar was intent on securing the rest of the Mewar in order to secure a stable route to the economic powerhouse of Gujarat. As we all know, port areas are very important. So this particular area was important for them because they wanted to move towards Gujarat and as a result conduct some economic activities. So this particular part would, if it is captured, would help them move towards Gujarat and also move towards the port areas. Added to it, Mewar was also known for discovery of silver and lead mines in this particular area, and zinc was also extracted in the Mewar, and all this meant that this particular area was blessed with minerals, it was blessed with agricultural produce, it was also a strategic position, which is why Akbar wanted this particular place. But then we have Maharana Pratap ji who didn't want to give up this part. So what happens? Upon the accession of Maharana Pratap in 1572, Mughal Emperor Akbar sent many diplomatic missions to convince him to become a vassal of Mughal Empire, like other Rajput rulers in the region, had done so, as Maharana Pratap refused to submit in person to Akbar, thus ensuring that war would be inevitable. Since Maharana Pratap ji did not accept this particular offer under the expansionist policy of the Mughal Empire, what we have is now called as the Battle of Haldigati. So this Battle of Haldigati was fought on 18th of June 1576 between the armies of Maharana Pratap, who happened to be the Rana of Mewar, and the Mughal Emperor Akbar's forces, which were led by Mansingh I of Amber. So the important factor is we have to know, why is it called as Haldi Ghati? It is called as Haldi Ghati because when you look at this particular terrain, it has the soil. The soil is of the turmeric color nature. So it is like this yellowish tinge. It has got this yellowish brownish tinge, and as a result, it was called as Haldi Ghati. So what exactly happens during this particular war? The forces of Mewar and the Mughal Empire met at the narrow mountain faces of Haldi Ghati near the modern day Rajasmand in Rajasthan. As per the contemporary historians, they go on to say that the numbers of the army of the Mewar was about 3,000 cavalry, 4,000 bill archers faced a Mughal army who had a numbers of 5,000 and 1,000 consisting of elephants as well as musketeers. So this battle of Haldigati lasted for about 6 hours. It led to the defeat of Maharana Pratap. However, he beat a tactical retreat due to the sacrifice of his commanders and lived to fight another day. So initially what happens when the war is on, you had the Mughal strength which is comparatively more. They were able to take advantage as well, but during this particular period as well, Maharana Pratap ji also saw the war tilt in favor of the Mughals. So he had to retreat. This was a temporary defeat as well. So it was not a permanent defeat, it was a temporary defeat, and he had to get back so that he can recoup and get back with full strength and ultimately fight this war against the Mughal Empire. So what does he do? He composes himself, he goes back to the forest areas, and as we all know, this particular part is also known for Aravalis, and this has ravines, valleys and forests, and whenever you had the king who had to recompose his strength, he would go back to the forest, regain his strength, and ultimately come back and fight any of the enemies as well. So in this particular case as well, initially the war had been won by the Mughals, but this was a temporary one. But then we have Maharana Pratap ji who was able to recompose himself and then eventually come up and fight against the expansionist policies of the Mughal Empire. The Battle of Haldigati was a futile victory for the Mughals as they were unable to capture Maharana Pratap or his immediate family members. When the Mughal army shifted its focus towards the northwestern regions of India, Maharana Pratap launched a campaign to take back the western regions of Mewar. So what exactly happens after this particular issue? Then we have multiple areas where Mughal also had to face rebellion. So it was not just in the Mewar region, they also had issues in the Bengal and Punjab region. So some of the forces had to be shifted elsewhere as well. So they had to take care of multiple forces, multiple opposing forces. So due to rebellion in Bengal and Punjab, the Mughal army had to shift its focus towards these regions. In 1582, Maharana Pratap attacked and took the Mughal post at Deva. This led to a lightning campaign which saw the fall of 36 Mughal outposts in Mewar. So because they were concentrating on multiple fronts, what we had is Maharana Pratap ji who was able to capture considerable part. So and in the coming years after that particular war, Maharana won almost all of his kingdom back in the series of battles. As a result, Emperor Akbar suspended any further campaigns against Mewar for the time being in force, as he felt the Mughal army was far better put to better use elsewhere. The Mughal emperor moved to Lahore, remained there for the next 12 years in order to maintain the situation in the northwestern borders of his empire. Since no further expeditions were carried out in Mewar by the Mughals, Maharana Pratap undertook further consolidation. He was able to capture multiple parts and he went on to recover Kumbhalgarh, Udaipur and Gokunda. He also constructed a new capital called as Chavan near the modern day Durgapur. Also remember, it is just not about the heroics of Maharana Pratap ji when it comes to preventing the expansionism of the Mughal Empire. He was also encouraging arts in his kingdom as well. That is why he was able to shelter many poets, artists, writers, artisans, so on and so forth. And one of the school of art called as Chavan School of Art was also supported during the reign of Rana Pratapji. So remember, the Chavan school of art was developed during the reign of Rana Pratapji. So what does this denote? This story of Maharana Pratapji goes on to say that he was powerful, invincible, had dauntless spirit for protecting his freedom, sovereignty and dignity of the kingdom as well as the people of the terrain. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.